Come in here. I need to build with y'all for a minute. Make sure you strike that notification bell as soon as you come in here and share this live stream to your social medias. It sometimes sounds like a pre-rehearsed spiel, but I really be wanting y'all to share these videos because the algorithm ain't supporting everybody. They got their picks. You know what I'm saying? They got their picks on which videos that they push into the feeds, and if you like the video, that lets YouTube know that it's popular. It's a popular discussion and shit like that, and in turn, they will push it throughout the platform. What up? What up? What up? Donnie, Tay, what's happening? Share this video to your social media platforms, will you? Will you? Ace God, what up? Peace. He said, went live as soon as I hit the road. Okay, man, tune in, man. But keep your eyes on the road, man. We don't want no mishaps out there. Not on a Friday, man. Finish the work week strong. I got some news for y'all. That I need to discuss. I posted it on my Instagram yesterday, and I think I gave a little bit of misinformation because I was so excited. But this change in legislation, it don't affect everybody, but it's a good step. It's a great step because the guys who have been convicted of first degree murder, if they can get back in court and get a plea to second degree, you just open the door for yourself. You just open the door for yourself. Let me get my pen. Happy Friday to everybody that's tuning in. Happy Friday to everybody that's tuning in. You and Oh Good. Why do y'all be asking me that type of shit, man? Y'all want Oskino to bang on everybody, don't y'all? I just told you that me and him have a relationship, man. I talk to him on the phone a couple times a month and shit. Him and Nafis. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that. Everybody ain't a target. Everybody ain't a target of the toast cooking, man. That's my guy, man. Anyway, DC, what's up? Come in here and ask me about, oh, man. Salute to the dribble. Major win for the PA lifers. Yeah, it's some technical changes that's gonna benefit about 1,000 inmates. 1,000 guys with life. I'm pretty sure they up in them institutions with tears in their eyes, man. Especially the guys who had used up all of their appellate rights and shit. You know, after you didn't got struck down 2, 3, maybe 4 times by the Supreme Court and the district courts and shit like that, you can't file any more appeals and you just be stuck, just waiting for something to happen. But yesterday, and I didn't even hear about this. It wasn't a topic. I wasn't hearing people talking about this. Maybe I could be out of the loop because I'm not a convict. But everybody's talking about it now because it's going to affect a lot of people. When I left the prison system, I left behind some really, really nice guys, man. And it was sad when I had to go because I knew some of these guys, I would never see them anymore. They were going to die in the institution because a murder conviction, first and second degree in Pennsylvania, would get you natural life. You would die there. You're never coming home. And some of them guys, man, they weren't killers, man. They just made some poor decisions, or they was in the wrong place at the wrong time and somebody lost their life. There's guys who snatched a purse, and the lady that they snatched the purse from, she fell down her head and died. Them niggas been in jail forever. Um, this might have been a decision that the guy made when he was 18. Immature, impressionable, made the wrong choice, and he's grown up in prison because of that wrong choice. But yesterday, they changed the laws, man, and some of these guys is gonna come home, man. I know that I could imagine that the temperature of, you know, people in those institutions, especially the guys that have spent all of their days in the law library and shit trying to find a way out. They no longer got to do that. All they got to do is make sure that they get the recommendation of the institution, make sure that they comply with their prescriptive program, meaning you keeping a job, you staying misconduct free, you doing whatever programs that your unit manager said that you should do. And if you're doing that, then they more than likely gonna give you a shot. A lot of people are upset about this on social media, especially on Facebook. Um, there's a body of people that as soon as they see a black face, they want to argue and shit. When I spoke about this, I was giving people some information on why they would make these changes to the law. I'm gonna tell you why. There's people in the Pennsylvania prison system who have life sentences. They walking around now. They're rolling around. They're in wheelchairs. They're on walkers. Some of them are confined to beds. Some of them are peeing on themselves. Some of them are defecating on themselves because they're not in control of their faculties anymore. In a nutshell, a good part of the Pennsylvania prison system has turned into a nursing home, because when they give you life, that means until you die. So you got guys running around 85 years old. They don't pose no threat to society. Their whole family done died. They the last of they the last person with their last name. They just sitting in this institution taking expensive medication. Um, some of them got oxygen tanks. All of this shit costs money, and it weighs on the taxpayers. The taxpayers is who have to foot this bill for these guys who've been in jail for 50 years and shit like that. So if the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania makes the decision to let some of these guys go, that will relieve some of the overcrowded in the institutions, and that will cut costs. Their overhead will be cut tremendously, because you can go home, man. You don't pose no threat to society no more. You ain't had a write up in 30 years and shit like that. Like, you are out of the way. There's no reason that you should still be in prison. So they made it so a lot of those guys can get the fuck out of jail. This statute, for the most part, in my opinion, was this statute, in my opinion, for the most part, was created to release them guys with them A, B, and C numbers. Them is like 40, 50-year-old state numbers. They pushing them out of jail. This ain't for the young niggas who just killed somebody last year and shit like that. If you just killed somebody 2, 3 years ago, you gonna still be there. You gonna do a dub at least. They not kicking it. No, they not kicking no guys out. But going forward, if you get a second-degree murder conviction in Pennsylvania, you do not face mandatory life no more. And anybody who's already serving time, who has a second-degree conviction, they will now go to the parole board. I'm gonna read from this news entry exactly what happened. Pennsylvania Supreme Court strikes down mandatory life sentences for second-degree convictions. I spoke to a couple of my homies yesterday, and I was telling them how, this person is coming home and that person is coming home. That was wrong, because some of these guys got first-degree convictions. But the fact that they letting the second-degree guys go, they might make a legislative change to where you do 25 years on first degree. Like in New York State, they have 25 to life. In Pennsylvania, when you get a murder conviction, you got the L. We call it wills. That means you're going to be there from now on until you die. Anyway, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has struck down mandatory life sentences for people convicted of second-degree murder as unconstitutional under the state's constitution, a watershed moment in the history of the Commonwealth's centuries-old justice system. Until today, people in Pennsylvania could serve the same sentence for being a getaway driver during a botched robbery or causing an injury that later led to death as someone who knowingly plotted and carried out the killing. There's a lot of guys who was in that car, just happened to be, you didn't kill him, but you was with him, and they gave them life. Lawrence, I appreciate your super chat. Finally, I got a notification. Thank you. And I'm going to say it again. Until today, people in Pennsylvania could serve the same sentence for being a getaway driver doing a botched robbery or causing an injury that later led to death as someone who knowingly plotted and carried out the killing. We determined that a mandatory life sentence without parole for all felony murder convictions, absent an assessment of culpability, is inconsistent with the protections bestowed upon our citizens under the Cruel Punishments Clause of our Commonwealth's Organic Charter, wrote Pennsylvania Supreme Court Justice Deborah Todd for the majority. The ruling was unanimous in part with Justice Kevin Brobson, dissenting in part. The outcome ensures that, going forward, people convicted of second-degree murder will receive sentences that consider their individual responsibility in the course of the crime. The court stayed its ruling for 120 days to give the legislature time to amend the laws that require the now unconstitutional sentencing scheme. It could also fundamentally change the lives of more than 1,000 people currently serving life sentences without the possibility of parole for, in some cases, murders they did not commit. There's people in Pennsylvania doing life for murders that they did not commit. They might have had knowledge of it. They might have tried to conceal some evidence, and you got a conspiracy. He got life, you got life. That's how it was prior to this. The court explicitly did not take a position on whether the ruling could be retroactive, instead leaving such a decision up to the legislature. The legislature could address the issue by lifting the prohibition on parole for people serving a life sentence from a second-degree murder conviction, said Quinn Cousins, an attorney with the Abolitionist Law Center who served as counsel on the case. So that would apply to anyone who has already been sentenced. Anyone who will be sentenced in the future, and would really alleviate a huge burden on the courts. I just told y'all that. Defense attorneys, people serving these sentences to go through the process of resentencing potentially up to 1,000 people or more. So they're not even going to have to be resentenced. They're going to just go to the parole board. And if you was minding your business and staying out of trouble, they're going to cut you loose. A bipartisan bill sponsored by Senator Sharif Street, Philadelphia, is currently moving through the state Senate and would provide such a remedy, allowing a parole board, I just said it, to consider someone convicted of second-degree murder for release after 5 years. A lot of these guys are going to need to have a quarter in order to come home. It's not as simple as I made it out to be on social media yesterday. A lot of these guys are going to have did 2 decades, but that's better than dying in jail. This is sufficient appetite in the legislator to get something done, Street told Spotlight Pennsylvania. I've been advocating that we do this because the result of our legal system is there are people who were not the actual shooter who end up serving life in prison when the actual shooter did not. Ain't that a bitch? Street said it's inconsistent with people's understanding on how justice should work. There's people, my man, his name is Johnny McDowell. He been down like 30-something years. He had co-defendants. He had co-defendants. His co-defendants was juveniles. They were together. The juvenile committed the murder. The juvenile been out of prison forever. He been out of jail for probably like 20 years. And he's probably, I don't know what happened to the young man, but he's been out of jail forever, basically. And He did the actual murder. My man didn't do it. He was with them, and he got life, and he's still doing life. So hopefully this will affect him. Legislative inaction would open the door for appeals from those serving life for second-degree murder, Cousins said, which likely to require the Pennsylvania Supreme Court to rule in order to clarify whether the holding in Lee applies retroactively. Governor Shapiro, in a post to Twitter, celebrated the decision and called on the General Assembly to act and come up with a thoughtful, just process to address those who are serving life sentences for second-degree murder. Though dozens of states have second-degree murder charges on the books, only Pennsylvania and Louisiana require a life sentence. I told my man that yesterday without even knowing the actual facts. I knew that Louisiana carried the same way. That's why Pimp C stuck like a motherfucker. Excuse me. The underlying case in Thursday's decision centers on a 36-year-old Allegheny County man, that's Pittsburgh, Derek Lee. In 2014, Lee and an accomplice committed an armed robbery, forcing victims Leonard Butler and Tina Chappell into their basement. Lee pistol whipped and robbed Butler, but left the basement before his co-defendant shot the man during a scuffle. At oral arguments in October 2024, state Supreme Court justices seemed primed to overrule the sentencing scheme for Lee. If not, the hundreds like him, spending much of the lengthy arguments discussing the logistics. Individuals are being punished for a crime for which no level of criminal intent has been established, which is truly contrary to anything I can count as far as fair in a sentencing scheme, Justice Christine Donahue told Allegheny County. More than a dozen interested parties filed amicus briefs in support of Lee's position, including Shapiro, who argued mandatory life in prison could be an extreme, harsh outcome for a person who did not commit the murder. The Office of the Attorney General filed a brief agreeing with Shapiro's position, but arguing that the courts should not be used as a method to compel action from the legislature. The decision Thursday remands Lee's case and Lee alone back to the Court of Common Pleas in Allegheny County for resentencing. So that young man, Derek Lee, he's going back to court like right away, and they're going to resentence him. To keep it a buck, this is a major win for black inmates. If Pennsylvania changed their legislature, maybe Louisiana, which will be the last state practicing this cruel and unusual punishment, will overturn their laws as well. In a nutshell, if let's reference the movie Boys in the Hood in Pennsylvania. In the movie Boys in the Hood, Trey was in the back seat with Doughboy and Monster. They was going to do some killing. Trey told them niggas, yo, let me out. In real life, had he not said let me out and them niggas went and did that murder and he was just riding in the back seat, if them niggas would have got booked, he would have got life too, as if he had squeezed the actual trigger. So this is going to free a lot of people, and going forward, it's probably going to eventually affect people who got first-degree murder convictions. I've said a million times, you got some people that belong in jail to protect society, but some people just made an error and shit. And in many people's eyes, a life for a life. But if the person didn't actually pull the trigger, they shouldn't die in jail, period. You know what I'm saying? Does this affect Cool C and Steady B? I don't know what, it's cool. It's not going to affect Cool C. Cool C was on, I think he's still on death row. They don't too much kill people in Pennsylvania no more. That's probably going to be the next thing to get abolished. The whole idea of a death sentence. I seen a picture of Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is from the Junior Block Mafia. He was on death row too. Aaron might be in population somewhere because I seen some pictures of him with another inmate. I don't know if they was both on death row, but I think they have already abolished it. But them guys that's on death row, they have first degree murder convictions, so it's not gonna affect them. I immediately was thinking about those guys. As far as Steady B told on Cool C, and I'm pretty sure that he probably didn't tell on him to receive a first degree conviction. So Cool C might have second degree and might eventually find his way home. Cool C has been, I was in Camp Hill with him in 1997. He's been in prison probably like 32 years or something like that. Easy. Yeah, he's been in prison about 32, maybe 33 years. And that's the type of time that you're gonna have in when you go to see the parole board. They wanna don't think that these people these aren't kind people. It's just that the right legislators, and mainly that judge in Pittsburgh who felt that boy Derek Lee from Allegheny County, he shouldn't have got life. He left the basement when his man killed somebody. He shouldn't have got life. She felt that he shouldn't have got life. A lot of these judges who impose these life sentences, they might have feelings about how the shit unfolded, but because it was a mandatory life statute, they had no control. You've been convicted. The law says first and second degree get mandatory life, but I'm sending you down to do the rest of your life in jail. But consciously in my heart, I felt that you shouldn't have got what you got. So that judge, female judge, I believe females seem to be a little bit more empathetic and lenient. Not all the time, the male judges, but females got children and they probably can relate to a child being in prison for the rest of his life. And she chose to take the steps to, make a difference. And it affected, it was like a chain reaction. She got more support and ultimately things will change. In New York City, you get 25 to life for murder in the second degree. The fact that the sentence is 25 to life, that means after 25 years, you can come home. Blue Boy was just out here. He killed somebody. And then he killed a motherfucker in jail and still made it home. In Pennsylvania, that would have never happened. I wish PA would provide a racial statistic chart regarding the inmates that will benefit from this. 1,000 prisoners. 1,000. That's gonna be 1,000 beds, 1,000 open beds and shit. Well, that will pull the overhead, the cost for 1,000 inmates. Let's say it costs is $35,000 a year to feed, clothe, medical for an inmate. Multiply that 35,000 times 1,000 and shit. And that's the money that Pennsylvania will be spared because of this law change. The same thing happened to my boy Kwame in North Carolina. Life in prison without being a shooter. Free flank C. The guys who got numbers, they gonna feel some type of way about this. The guys who got numbers, they gonna want them numbers about your ass. If you got 40 years, they gonna want that. If you got 50, just last week, the guys who had numbers were more fortunate than the guys who had murder convictions. The guys who got second degree murder convictions, they looking at the door now. And the guys, just last week, them guys that had second degree murder convictions, they would have loved to have 40 years. Man, give me 30. If I could plead, I'll plead to 30. They going out the door, and the guys that got to do that 30, got to do that 25, that 40, they got to do every day. So the roles have been switched, and ultimately, some people are going to come home. I don't think it's right that a person that didn't actually do the murder should get a life sentence. You got guys who was in situations, a nigga pulled out the gun. Man, I'm scared too. Why ain't you leave? He had a gun. You know what I'm saying? the nigga without the hammer, man, he wants to leave. And hey, this motherfucker might kill me too and shit because I'm here and shit. Like, he might think I'm going to tell somebody and knock me down. So why did you stay? I was scared. This is, it's funny, but it's true. It was people that was in these situations that I had to stay the course because I might have ended up in that box next to this motherfucker he just killed. Good news for Arab. Nah, Arab is in the federal system. It's not. Let's take Skinny Me for instance. Skinny Me, I believe he got first degree murder. He got life plus some numbers. He got life plus like 30 years or some shit like that. It ain't gonna affect guys like him. And even if he did have a second degree murder conviction or whatever, they still gonna want some time out of somebody like him. They gonna want 25. You're not going home. Not you. There's other people in this institution we could, consider them going home. But you need to be here for 20 years or 25 years or something like that. Just based on the circumstantial evidence and what we know about you. It's not a good idea to let you go. Not until you're old man. Not while you're young. Mumia Abu Jamal is on death row. He's not. This won't affect him. They said his Philly trench is getting out. Yeah, when they done with his ass. Pennsylvania doesn't play at all. Wallow got all that time for a petty robbery. There's no such thing as a petty robbery. If you armed, that's an armed robbery. Now you might say that it was petty based on what it's my understanding Wallow robbed like a restaurant or a corner store or some shit. I think they said a Wendy's. That's an armed robbery. Now you take the same situation and let's say a person robbed a motherfucker on a bike. That's something that you would consider a petty robbery. But in the courts, it's an armed robbery because you pulled out the gun. Yeah, you only took a bicycle. But it's a felony armed robbery because you pulled out this gun. What if this gun would have went off and killed this person? This is why we punishing your ass. So there's no such thing as a petty robbery. If it's armed, you're going to prison. Do you got any homies that's going to benefit from this? I started to think about the guys that I knew that got life personally. Fish Blue, Johnny McDowell, Ricardo Noble. Ricardo Noble is a guy who been down since he was like about 18. He got like 30-something years in, maybe 35. He probably got close to 40 years in. They killed a cab driver when they was basically juveniles. He might have been 18. And he's been down forever. I don't think they ever proved who was the actual trigger man, but all of his co-defendants is home. One of them went to a juvenile joint, Stefan. He been out forever. And his other co-defendant, Antonio Howard, he got released about 5 years ago. He's free. But I don't know these guys' convictions. All I know that them niggas had life, and I never seen them niggas again. And it's a very, it would be sad. Like, I was in touch with my man Johnny some years ago, and he used to call me and say, yo, have you seen Matumbo? And I'm like, yeah, I see him every now and then. Could you tell him I need him to do this and this and that? Man, I'm trying to get out of jail. And I relayed a message to Matumbo when I seen him, like, yo, Johnny trying to get in touch with you and shit. Like, y'all need to, get together, man. He trying to get loose. But I would always feel sorry for him when I got off the phone because there's nothing I can really do to help you. There's nothing nobody can do to help you. And I know you. You not no killer. You wasn't no tough guy. You wasn't no bully. You was none of that. And you doing forever. Another kid I know named Shelby Sablotny, he was involved with a murder. One of his co-defendants is home. He did about 20 something. The other one, who was a juvenile, and the trigger man, his name was Michael Crosby. He had life. They removed the life sentences from juveniles in Pennsylvania and gave him numbers. And I think they gave him like 36 or 40 years or some shit for what he did. And he probably is going to be coming up for parole soon. And Shelby was the oldest out of them three. And his culpability in this case is that he hired Mike to do this killing. Now, Shelby wasn't no troublemaker. I did time with him up Albion. He was like a model inmate, had a lot of privileges. He just had life, just wasn't getting out and shit. I don't know if he has a first-degree conviction because he didn't pull the trigger. He might have a second-degree conviction. The nigga that pulled the trigger is going to be coming up for parole soon. So I'm not aware of these. I just was thinking of the guys that I knew that was stuck overall. I don't know if they have first or second degree. Wallow did 20 years for a Frosty. This is the result of leaving home young into jungle society and still immature and ignorant. That's why they took the life sentences off the books for juveniles. Just about, it's probably been like 8 years now. Prior to 8 years ago, they was giving motherfuckers life sentences in Pennsylvania at 13, 14. If you killed somebody, they putting you down. They putting you down. You got life. You're going into an adult prison. They eventually made a juvenile prison called Pine Grove, and you would be there until you turn 18, and then when you turn 18, then they would take you to the adult jails. But in order to get to a jail like Pine Grove, you got to go through 2 adult jails to get there. So if you're on the eastern side of the state, you had to go through Graterford, and you 13, 14, you might have got raped there. If you're on the western side of the state, you went to a prison called Western State Penitentiary, known as the Wall. And if you was underage and you was in the wrong circumstances there, you could have got raped there. So they eventually just altogether said, we can't give life to juveniles because their minds aren't fully developed and their decision-making process isn't mature enough for them to rationalize what the fuck they did. So we're going to take the life sentences back and we're going to give them all numbers. Massachusetts passed a law, 21 years old and under, no more mandatory life sentences. 220 people cannot see parole retroactively. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. I was forced to get on here and speak about this. This isn't news to everybody from other states, but I'm from Pennsylvania and it directly affects some people that I know. Hope them guys get out and, try it all over again. Getting back to what I was saying earlier, there's a body of people. There's some really, really evil people online and shit. I spoke about this in a post on social media, and right below my post was a bunch of people that have never spoken to me. They was all white. They didn't have profile pictures, and they just wanted to argue. You know what I'm saying? As if I was happy that this legislature was enacted. It don't affect me one way or another. I don't care. But I thought that it was big news, and it is. So I spoke about it. But underneath the post in the comments was nothing but evil white people talking about they did this, they did that. Listen, y'all see a black person, as soon as y'all see a black person, y'all wants to argue and spew your racist, separatist views and shit. If you got a problem with what the legislators did, file a petition and picket and do all of that shit that y'all normally do, because number one, the legislators don't look like me. They look like y'all. White folks did this shit. You know what I'm saying? And I know for a fact they not in the business of letting niggas go home
They not in the business of letting niggas go home. They do too much rotten shit to put niggas in jail. The reason this happened is because it was affecting them. It was affecting the taxpayers' pockets. When your taxes is high, it's because you got to take care of all these old motherfuckers dying in prisons and shit. So the legislators felt that it was unconstitutional, but up under that, this shit is costing us too much money. These guys who got life sentences, man, they end up being geriatric patients. They wearing diapers. They got dementia. Just imagine that everything that goes on in a nursing home, it be going on in the prison system and shit. This motherfucker that forgot his name, he pissing on himself. He need a diaper. Somebody got to take care of this motherfucker. Somebody got to wipe his ass. All of that shit. All of this happens in prisons. So we're not equipped to keep doing this. And because the life sentences was adding more and more geriatric patients, something needs to be done. These niggas need to go home. Let their family wipe their ass. You know what I'm saying? They need to get up out of here. So that's why this happened. You know what I mean? They seem to be very, very upset. We know that y'all be raised foul, vile, evil, hate black folks, but guess what? It's just as many white folks is going to be affected by this too, who got murder cases. It was a mandatory statute. So there you go. Glenn Mills, they were sexually assaulting people up there. They had to shut that joint down. I be seeing people talk about the sexual assaults that might have happened in some of these juvenile institutions. I don't believe that shit. I don't believe that shit. Now, it might have been some ass kicking, and Glenn Mills was famous for kicking some ass. But the type of juvenile delinquent, the type of juveniles that was in these homes, especially like Cornwall Heights, Vision Quest, Danville, Newcastle, wasn't nobody sexually assaulting them niggas. Them niggas might have been sexually assaulting them niggas might have been sexually assaulting staff. You know what I'm saying? But staff wasn't doing nothing to these caliber of niggas that was going to these homes. I'm telling you, man. Like when I see that, I'm like, man, somebody got the bright idea and said, I'm gonna make up a story and say I got raped while I was there, and we gonna get some money. But that shit wasn't happening. Maybe to girls. I can't speak to what was happening to girls and shit, but the guys, hell no. Nah. It was incorrigibles. It was man, it was niggas was busting staff in the head with bricks and shit like that, man. No, with the exception of Glenn Mills. Glenn Mills was notorious for kicking ass, but the rest of them homes, staff was getting served, yo. Like staff would like to come and do their 8 hours and go home without getting their wig split open. I'm telling you. My homie went to Glen Mills in the 9th grade. He returned to our school a senior, looking like an NFL defensive back. They had the best, Glen Mills had the best everything. They had the best campus. They had the best facilities. They had the best doctors. They had the best food, all you can eat for football players and shit like that. So everybody that went up there came back looking like a grown ass man. And yes, they were sending niggas to Division I colleges and the NFL. Boom, boom, boom. He said it makes sense. The human brain, cognitive thinking, isn't even developed until over 18. Man, I was running around like I ain't had no sense well into my early 30s. I'm serious. As I look back into the person I was, retrospectively, I was just bugging the fuck out. Like, it was almost like I didn't even see tomorrow, and I don't think I did and shit. I was just, and I believe a lot of guys is just like that. I don't know. Is this the state of affairs? This is the entire state of Pennsylvania. In order for you to get a federal murder, that I think you got to be in a RICO case or killed a federal agent or something like that. Good morning, everybody. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all share this. This information needs to be passed on. I thought it was important that I got on here and discussed this. And niggas was texting me like, "Yo, you got to say something about the law." But what I did say something about it yesterday, but I was misinformed. I thought it affected everybody. So if I spoke to you yesterday about this law and I told you your people was coming home, if them niggas got a first-degree murder conviction, they not going nowhere. They're gonna die there for the time being anyway. So it's unfortunate, but some people will be, freed. Everybody didn't deserve to die in jail. And I met a lot of guys that was really, really nice guys. And I used to feel sorry for them when it was time for me to go home. I was like, damn, man, hope something shake for you and shit, and you find your way to the free world again. But some is they was just gonna die there. And it was a very, very sad situation. Anyway, before I get up off of here, I want to know what cities is in here this morning. He said Albion and PA. Nah, Albion, Pennsylvania. I was there for some years and shit. Houston, did you see the Craig Petty detective on Vlad TV? I thought that interview was boring. Gully was you locked up with Kabani Savage. Kabani Savage is in the feds. Houston, Texas, Compton, St. Anthony, Brooklyn, South Philly. What up? Philly, what up? East Oakland, what up? What up? Good morning to you, man. Make sure you share this video out there in Oakland. DMV in the building. OKC, what's up? 814 Jay, have you been in the gym? Completely unrelated question, but what you think about Criminal God and the noise they making about him modifying the flag? I have a relationship with Criminal God. I respect Criminal God. I interview Criminal God. He don't have the power to do what he's doing. His new logo that he did, can't nobody stop him from doing that. But the universal flag has a meaning, and he can't change the meaning under no circumstances. Actually a compass, and the light points on there and the dark points on there, it has a meaning, and he can't change that. The conflict that's going on about it is mostly probably elders and traditional 5%ers. Me, I don't care what he does. I have my own understanding of what's right and exact. What he's doing is pertaining to his brand and music, and that has nothing to do with religion and spirituality and shit. Something that he did point out is, I'm not listening to none of you junkies, you drunks, and a lot of them niggas is old junkies. They missing teeth. You're supposed to be God's cipher divine, but you don't look like it. Your teeth rot, you smoke crack, you shoot dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't enact any policy if you're not standing on your square correctly. Nobody wants to hear it. And not only that, there is no governing body in the 5% nation of gods and earths. If everybody's God, how can you tell a motherfucker what to do? You can't. You can't. That tickled you, huh? I mean that shit. A nigga said something to me about my chain one time. Hopped in my DM, and this is what he said. He said, "Yo, I didn't know you was God," and da 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 da. And you know, he said something like, "I didn't know you was God," and what you doing wearing that chain? And I've had knowledge of self since 1991. I cussed that nigga the fuck out. You mean to tell me that you think that you're gonna confront me and you had knowledge of self since 1991? that means you're a newborn. That means you're a newborn. I came down the birth canal and dropped into this world, cultivated with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding through my family. I've never eaten ham in my life. I don't even know what it tastes like. I don't. I've never eaten ham in my life. I ate a pepperoni once. It was good too. I got my ass whooped. But I've never. You can't. He was telling me that he got knowledge of self in '91. You probably more than likely got it in a prison or an institution, or I don't know where the fuck you got it from. But the fact that you think that you about to check me, and I'm a Nation of Islam baby, and the guy that you identify as Allah, y'all call him the Father, Clarence 13X, he was civilized in the Nation of Islam. And the mathematics, the 120, that shit come from the Nation of Islam. He took that and he added some things to it and created the nation of gods and earths. And you think you're gonna confront me? I cussed this bitch ass nigga the fuck out. I did, man. I was offended like a motherfucker. The nerve of you, pork eating ass nigga. I went ballistic on him, but getting back to what I was saying about Criminal God, he views some of these niggas in the same light that I viewed this bitch ass nigga in my DM. The fuck are you? You don't even know me. You don't even know me. What the fuck do you mean I didn't know that you had knowledge of self? You don't even know me. The fuck are you talking about? Goofy? So, let's just point out the fact that within the 5%, there's a 5%. So I just leave that like that. He said, Gully, you always good in Oakland. No, I ain't. Them niggas bipped the fuck out of my whip, man. Took my laptops and my clothes and shit like that. Nobody's safe in Oakland. You can't instill that type of policy, man. Don't do that. Dribble, Steady B got 2nd degree, but also 75 years for the armed robbery. That mean he gonna die there. Gully, your last live, you said you was 49 years old. I'm still 49. What's your point? Yeah, he gonna die there if he got 75 for the robbery. Whew. Boy, oh boy. Crime don't pay, man. It don't. It's been almost 50 minutes, man. I want to get to the gym early. I've been trying to go during the day. For the most part, in the last 6 months to a year, I've been going in the afternoon. But I've been trying to get there in the morning. 315 Bugs, I appreciate you tuning into my chat. If you appreciate my response, share this live stream. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. I got to get up off of here. TRIFECTA, 100% natural. If you're looking for something to trigger your resurgence holistically, this is it. This is 100% natural. It consists of 5 natural ingredients. It helps increase blood circulation throughout the body. It improves testosterone production, an element in the body that starts to decrease in men every year after the age of 35. That's why you start having problems with getting an erection. This is not a male enhancement product. This is life enhancement right here. One of the benefits of taking this is that the increased blood circulation is going to go straight to your dick. And you'll be able to wear her ass out like you did when you was 19. So if you misfiring, if your equipment ain't been working right, you don't hear nothing but good things about this. This has been online on the market for probably like a year and a half now. If you look under any of the videos that I marketed this, that I spoke about the intricate details of this, just read the comments. and everybody gonna tell you how this has improved their life and livelihood. TRIFECTA, therealdribble.com. Make sure you go get this. He said no ham, turkey sandwich. Nah, I ain't never had no goddamn ham. He said, I'm from the town, never been bit, gotta know how to wiggle. Tap in with me. Your idea of knowing how to wiggle is driving a car and leaving the windows down. This is how you gotta operate in Oakland, man. You don't want your windows busted, leave them down. Don't have nothing in the car. You be walking down the street, every car on the strip got their windows down. You like, God damn. That's basically a plea. Don't bust my windows. I ain't got nothing. I didn't know that. Yeah, I was in a rental too. That's another thing, or another red flag. If you in a rental, they know that you probably from out of town and you're a tourist and you probably got some money with you. You're a visitor, you got some money with you. So any out of town plates, they busting your shit. No questions asked. He said that was 2 summers ago. Man, they still bipping. What are you talking about? Y'all still bipping out there. Y'all still bipping, man. There's videos online calling y'all the world's most dangerous city right now. I'm like, damn, man, I was actually out there amongst these Who riders. I'm out, man. Y'all have a great, great afternoon, man.